Good day and welcome to Editorials, a broadcast from Canada. My name is Sandra Asante. So today we join concerns on, in Ethiopia, the ongoing humanitarian crisis in Tigray, as well as civil society group urging dialogue to resolve Sudan's crisis. So I'll take a short break. I'll be back. Stay tuned. You're welcome back from the break. We are starting with the Ethiopia's crisis, and as the attack against the TPLF in Ethiopia's Tigray resumes, the humanitarian situation continues to deteriorate. Air attacks against the Tigrayan People's Liberation Front TPLF are increasing, and so too is the humanitarian cost. It has been described as the world's worst hunger crisis in a decade, and it is feared the situation in Ethiopia's northern region of Tigray will become even bleaker. The United Nations has suspended all humanitarian flights to the capital, Mekelle. After 11 months of conflict in Ethiopia's Tigray region, millions of people are displaced and nearly 500,000 faces famine-like conditions. Atale Abuhe, the Director of Communications for the National Disaster Risk Management Commission, told the Reuters. Said Asefa, a local official working at a coordinating center for the displaced people in Desi, said 250 people had fled there this week from fighting in Girana area of the north. We are now having a total of 900 displaced people here, and we finished our food stocks 3 days ago. Leu Mesfin, the medical director of Desi Hospital, told Reuters 2 girls and an adult has died this week at his facility of wounds from artillery fire in the town of Wachule, which both the government describes as a scene of a heavy fighting over the past weeks. Yes, that's what the government and its allies are saying. The nearly year-long conflict between the government and the forces allies to the TPLF has killed thousands of people and displaced more than 2 million. The TPLF dominated Ethiopian politics for decades as the most powerful group in a multi-ethnic coalition, but has clashed with the government of Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, who took power in 2018. Abiy sent central government troops who drove the TPLF out of Mekelle last year, but forces allied to the TPLF launched a counterattack this year, recapturing Mekelle and nearly all of Tigray and seizing the swaths of Amhara. Now let's concentrate in Sudan, their crisis, and the prominent civil society leader in South Sudan has decried a military takeover in Sudan, pointing it creates a leadership vacuum in the IGAD that will affect the implementation of the 2018 revitalized peace agreement. Edmund Yakani, the executive director of Community Empowerment for Progress Organization, SEPO, condemned the coup which removed Sudanese Prime Minister Hamdallah Hamdok, saying the coup put at risk of collapsing peace in South Sudan. Yakani explained that the Sudanese Prime Minister was a leader of the IGAD, a regional bloc with the objective to consolidate peace and security, economic and integration in the East and Horn of Africa's region. Sudan and Uganda were also 2 countries in the region that acted as guarantors of South Sudan peace. With the military takeover in Sudan, pundits raised fears and concerns among South Sudanese that such development could undermine the peace process in the country. Hamdok is the sitting chair of the IGAD, so it is the first time in the continent that a sitting chair of a regional economic body like IGAD is under detention. This is what Yakani is saying. The peace talks between South Sudan and Sudan have now been put under jeopardy because there is no longer a legitimate government in Sudan. It is a military coup government, he further added. The civil society leader said the coup will have a direct implication on the agreement between the two countries, especially on the security arrangement, one of the outstanding critical tasks of the revitalized peace agreement. He said next November there will be a graduation of the unified forces, which have to be confirmed by the leadership of the IGAD and a guarantor of the peace implementation process. Pro-democracy activists in South Sudan have been frustrated by the recent development in Sudan, as the December 2019 revolution raised hopes for democratic change in their own country. Besides reciprocating peace brokers, both countries have yet to broker an agreement with each other's dissidents group. Also, South Sudanese President Kiir wanted to work with the transitional government to end armed conflict and the presence of armed groups on the 2,000-kilometer border between the two countries. While South Sudan is yet to convince the Abdelaziz Al-Hilu of SPLM and Abdul Wahid Al-Nur of SLM to reach an agreement with Khartoum, Sudan is exerting efforts to bring Juba together with the Kit Wang faction were underway. So stakeholders in Sudan must immediately return to dialogue to restore constitutional order and the country's transitional process. Community Empowerment for Progress organization, that is the CEPO, said on Tuesday. On Monday, the head of Sudan's ruling council, General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, dissolved civilian rule, arrested political leaders, and announced a state of emergency across the country. The move has attracted protest amidst demand for an immediate return to civilian rule. But the CEPO said Sudan, the current chair of the Intergovernmental Authority on the Development, IGAD, requires support from regional leaders to consolidate peace and democratic gains. The act of arresting the active chair of the IGAD totally undermines the regional body and should strongly be condemned, said Edmond Yakani, the executive director of CEPO. He called for an urgent meeting of IGAD heads of states and government, saying the situation in Sudan could have serious implications on the region. South Sudan and Sudan have mutual political relations in the process of political transitioning from the violence to peace. The issue of the agreement on the four freedoms between South Sudan and Sudan will be affected by these latest developments in Sudan. This is what Yakani stressed on. He added that it is high time the African Union took serious measures for the protection of the IGAD sitting chair and sitting head of the government of its member states from arrest and detention. The South Sudanese civil society organization further called for joint interventions from both regional and international bodies to ensure a peaceful political transition is restored in Sudan. The U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken has spoken on phone to Sudanese deposed civilian prime minister following Hamdallah Hamdok's return home. Mr. Hamdok was arrested and detained during Monday's military coup. In a statement, the U.S. State Department said Mr. Blinken welcomed Mr. Hamdok's release and reiterated his call to the Sudanese armed forces to free all civilian leaders rounded up in the last 24 hours. Protests against the seizure of power by the military continued into the night, with crowds in the capital, Khartoum, marching and blocking main roads. Earlier, General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan sought to justify the coup by accusing political groups of inciting civilians against the security forces. Two Sudanese trade unions says they will take actions against the military coup that took place on Monday. The workers at the state petroleum company Sudapet are joining the civil disobedience movement, while a doctor union says it will enter a general strike. Demonstration demanding civilian rule are meanwhile continuing in the capital, Khartoum. Earlier, the U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken spoke on phone to Hamdallah Hamdok, the deposed prime minister, following his return. But Sudan will also reopen Khartoum Airport to all inbound and outbound flights on Wednesday. The head of Civil Aviation Authority, General Ibrahim Adlan, told news agencies that the airport will resume operations starting Wednesday, 4 p.m. local time, that is 14 GMT. The country suspended flights on Tuesday, a day after the military seized power and declared a state of emergency. Most cabinet ministers in the transitional government were also reported to have been detained, although Prime Minister Hamdallah Hamdok has been released. Thank you so much for watching today's editorials. My name is Sandra Asante. You should have an amazing day.